The journey to wealth is a long walk, and some people may walk quicker than others. But what good is sprinting to the finish line if you pass out when you cross it? This is Walk to Wealth with your host, John Mendez. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, Jacinto, give us your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do? I've known you for a couple years now. I've seen you about a bunch of events locally here in Stamford and Connecticut, in the real estate space and the business space. I've seen you all over the place, but now we got to get you on the show. So for anyone who's listening who doesn't know you yet, man, tell us again your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacinto Evangelista. I'm the owner of State Farm Insurance Office. And on my free time, I'm a mentor for SCORE volunteer.
Amazing. So to get right into the conversation, I like to start things off by asking, how do you define wealth?
Well, everyone's definition is a little bit different. Mine is being able to spend as much time as I can with my loved ones. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I get to drop off and pick up my son every day from school. So even though I have a business and I'm successful, for me, wealth is being able to tell my grandkids or anyone that I saw my son grow up. Not many people get the opportunity to see their kids grow because of business. And I was lucky enough to find a couple of mentors that are along the way kind of guided me and told me, listen, the most important thing at the end of the day is family. So for me, wealth is family.
Family, amazing. So I guess take us back into the time machine a little bit. What was little Jacinto's family like? I know you're a fellow Dominicano, so take us back in time, man. What was it like growing up? What was your family life as a childhood?
So I was born and grew up in the Dominican Republic. I came to this country when I was 11 years old. My mom used to work in restaurants, pretty much low-paying jobs. And
Who do you come with when you moved here? Did you already have family, or was it you, your mom just left?
My mother came first, and then she got me and my other two brothers a couple of years later. So we were all living basically in a room, and I rented the room for a couple of years until she was able to get her own apartment.
Yeah, and did you have any other family aside from your mom, or?
Yeah, we had our aunt and a couple of family members, but basically most of the time.
Not much. Yeah. Okay, back. So continue with the story. So you moved around 11 from DR. So what part of DR were you from? Remind me again.
La Vega.
La Vega. Okay, cool. I got to spend a couple of days out there when I went to DR the first time. So back to the story. Your mom moved first, and then she brought you and your two brothers over. So continue with the story.
Yeah, so we went right into high school. I remember, right into middle school. So I remember my first day of class when she takes me to the school and she takes me to the lunchroom. And I remember they gave me a cold milk, and I was like, "Mommy, where's my mango?" So I still remember that little day. It was a rough day because I started crying. I was like, "Oh no, how I'm gonna survive this?" But I was able to get through middle school, high school, college. I went to John Jay for a year and a half. Had to leave college because my wife now at that time became pregnant, so I needed to provide for the family. And at that time, I was a Rite Aid manager. So at the age of 19, I was a manager at Rite Aid. So.
Okay, so take us in. So middle school, you moved here. Did you speak English at all?
No.
So you get handed this cold milk, and you're looking for some mango, and they don't got any mango anywhere near any schools.
It was rough, I always been the type of person that I'm not afraid to make mistakes. So it took me 6 months to kind of get some words out. Yeah. And I used to play a lot of basketball back then. So, a lot of the kids that I used to play basketball with kind of always helping me with the words. making sure that I understand that when they say pass the ball, pass the ball.
Yeah.
So, and I was young. So one thing about being young is that you get to learn things quickly. So it took me about 6 months to kind of learn the language, but it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah, and then by high school you were kind of good for the most part, right?
Yeah.
By high school you were good. Okay, so take us through that time period. So you in high school, before we get into you going to college and dropping out to provide for your family, take us back to high school. What was that like? You said you had two brothers, your mom, did you have to pick up a job in high school? What was that kind of like, and what was your thought process? I know, at least in my family, at least on the Dominican side, like their view for their kids is go to college and graduate. Once you go to the States, that is the number one goal. They want you to go to college and graduate. So what was your kind of high school journey like, and what was your thought process coming out of high school?
So my mom, she wanted to make sure that, I was doing the right thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to high school, the first thing she did, she got me a job at the restaurant where she was working. So
Wow.
I used to go to Walton High School in the Bronx. Really tough school, by the way, And after class, I had to go to the restaurant, help out in the kitchen, washing dishes, cooking, frying plátanos, doing whatever I need to do. But it was too much for me. So I was like, the restaurant thing might not be for me. She was like, oh, okay, no problem. So she ended up getting me a job at a car wash. So I used to come out of school at 3. At 4:30, I was already on the car wash. And the only day off I had was Sundays. And Sunday, I was so tired that basically I was just home doing nothing the whole day. So she made sure that once I got out of school, that I didn't have an opportunity to go do bad things or get into any type of problem, because she was at work and she was a single mom. So she couldn't be there with me, taking care of me all day, because, she had 2-3 jobs sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I was in the car wash, and, oh man, car wash is tough.
I bet so. So that's something I wanted, for anyone listening, I want to mention. I think a lot of people have too much free time in their hands, especially 'cause I feel like nowadays with technology, for my senior class for football, I think we had maybe like 11 dudes. My freshman year, we had maybe like 40 kids on the football team. And so only a quarter stuck with it to the end, right? And so and I can only imagine what it's like now. I graduated 6 years ago now, so I can only imagine what it's like. I seen a video of my old high school and the football team, and I'm just like, the linemen are like, I'm 5'11", right? Sneakers on 6 foot, I got them to put 6 foot on the license, but 5'11" actually. And like the linemen, I'm like, these guys are shorter and smaller than me, and I'm not even a big guy. And so I'm just like, I can only imagine what their season's gonna be like. No hate to my old school, but man, I feel like when you have too much free time in your hands, especially when you're young and you don't know what to do and you could be easily persuaded, especially growing up in the Bronx. For anyone that's listening that's not from the New York area or nearby New York, right? It's a really gritty city to get to make it out of.
Is that there's always something to do after school. There's a corner store that you could hang out. You could go to the park. There's a lot of stuff that you could do to get in trouble. Yeah. She was very smart. She made sure that I was working. And the cool thing about high school was that I was always working. So I always had like $100, $200 in my pocket.
Yeah.
So, people in school thought that my mom was rich, which was not the case. Basically we were all living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and she was basically paycheck to paycheck. But because I was working, I was always going to McDonald's. I was always buying food for my friends and stuff, And in high school, for you to have $200-$300 in your pocket every week, that's not common.
Yeah.
But, I work basically 6 days a week except Sundays.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So fast forward, you graduate high school, you go to college, and then your college career gets cut short. So fast forward a bit, take us to that time period. What was it like? What was your family around you saying? I know for me, when I dropped out of college, everyone was like questioning me, and like they were trying, oh, Giancarlo, you got to go back to school and and all this stuff about college and all this stuff. So take us back to that time period of life. Your now wife was pregnant. You left school. You had to become a provider. What was it like navigating through that time period?
So before college, so I graduated from Walton High School with honors, and I got accepted to a couple of colleges, including Buff State University in Buffalo, right?
Okay.
So I have the godfather, one of my sons is a lawyer, and he was working in Buffalo. So I went for the summer to Buffalo, and the goal was that if I get the job, like a part-time job, I would just stay over there. So I went for like 3 months and applied maybe to like 30, 40 different jobs, and nobody accepted me. So I was like, okay, I guess John Jay College is. So I went to John Jay College. I did it for like about a year and a half. Throughout that time, I became a Rite Aid manager, and my girlfriend, my wife at the time, she was a supervisor in a different Rite Aid location. So she got pregnant. And I remember 8 months in, we told my mom because we were scared.
8 months into the pregnancy?
Yeah.
She already has like a huge belly.
Yeah, but my girl was not going to the house, and I remember having the conversation with my mother where she was like, "Oh, so basically you was thinking about bringing me the baby? I mean, it's 8 months in. Like, what were you guys thinking?" And, okay, I'm like, whatever. She gave me the little pet talk, and I go to work. So when I come back from Rite Aid, I see my girlfriend sitting in my room with 2 bags. I'm like, babe, what are you doing here? She's like, go talk to your mom. So I go talk to my mother. She just go berserk on me. You're a man. You got her pregnant. You need to become responsible. This is your responsibility. And that's how I moved in with my girl. So it was a crazy learning experience, and my son Christopher was born, and then we worked at that for a couple of years. Then a couple of years back, maybe like 7 or 8 years back, one of my good friends was working for State Farm.
Yeah.
And being a Rite Aid manager at that time was minimum 6 days a week.
Yeah.
10 hours a day, no holidays off, right?
Wow.
So I remember it was really rough because my wife would work in the morning and I would work the night shift.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see my first son grow up because by the time I got home, he was sleeping. And when I woke up, they were all gone. So we did that for like about 6 years.
Wow.
And one of my good friends was working at State Farm, and I'm always seeing him traveling, hanging out, spending money. I'm like, bro, like, tell me a little bit more about it. He's like, oh, I do insurance. I'm like, what's that insurance? He's like, you remember that policy I sold you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's what I do. So, I quit Rite Aid and I started working with him. At that time, he was my manager. Like 2 years later, he became my agent in Philadelphia, and he helped me open my own agency after that.
Yeah, so take us to that time period. So you said you were a Rite Aid manager and then you quit. What was that quitting process like? Walk us through your decision-making process at that time period. Was it like months of planning? Was it like, all right, I have an opportunity right now, let me pull the plug, put my 2 weeks in? Like, what was that thought process like? Because a lot of people are scared to make major life decisions, especially once you have a kid in the world, right? It's not like you're a single guy doing whatever you want. You have a wife, you have a kid already, as you have to raise, you have to provide, you have bills, and you have a stable job, not the best job, but providing a salary for you to have the money to provide for your family. And you decided to leave that for something that you didn't know much of anything about. So walk us through that time period of what it was like making that decision.
So for me, really, it wasn't that hard because, like, I already saw the lifestyle my friend was having, even though he was
so the traveling, the spending money, the things, all that stuff. Yeah.
And for me, the most important part was like, hey, I'm going to be making roughly the same amount of money with potential to make 2-3 times in commission. But for me, it was like every night when I got home, because I used to get home like around 1-2 o'clock in the morning because the store will close at 12. But then you got to do the cleaning, you got to do the cashier reconciliation. So, and then it was an hour drive back. So I used to get home around 1-2 in the morning, and my wife was asleep, my son was asleep. And I was like, I'm going to trade that in for a 9 to 5 with the weekends off.
Wow.
So even if I made a little bit less money, for me, it was going to be worth it because I was going to be able to spend more time with my family.
No, 100%. And that was the most important thing, like you mentioned earlier, wealth, you said, a family. So that just perfectly aligned with your values. All right. So fast forward, you get into State Farm, and walk us through the process of starting that, because were you a 1099 when you first started off or no?
No, I was W-2
Okay.
For an agent in the Bronx. And then, like I said, Stanley, my office manager, he opened up his agency. And I remember that he called me. He was like, bro, I'm making X amount of money a month. I was like, I got to see a check.
Yeah.
He was like, come through. So I told my girlfriend, I was like, hey, listen, we're going to go to Philadelphia. My friend is going to show me a check. If I see that amount of money, I'm going to open a State Farm office. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, she was like, sure. Because back then I have never really done anything that kind of was like that high risk.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe 20 something years old. I'm still clubbing and partying. So she was like, sure. We go, right? So we go to Philadelphia. And the interesting thing about the trip was that, okay, we drive in, we seeing the nice buildings and everything. And my wife is like, yeah, I kind of like Philadelphia. And then we made a turn into one of those roads that are like those heavily drug use streets. And then she was like, oh, hell. She was like, no, we're not moving to Philadelphia. I'm like, listen, if we're going to make money, it doesn't matter where. She's like, nope. So I went, I saw the check. I was like, okay, I got to do this. So I got into the program because for you to become an agent with State Farm, you have to go through like a vetting process and a program. I did that, and it took me about a year to find a location. And then an opportunity presented itself in Connecticut, and I decided to post for it, and I interviewed for it, and I ended up getting it.
So how many years was that?
It was about 5 years.
5 years ago, so pretty much in the pandemic.
No, that was prior. So I've been an agent for about 7 years.
7 years, okay. So
and
you got it right
prior
before.
To that was 5 as a team member.
Oh, okay. So you were already at State Farm for some years now.
Yeah.
A long time. Okay. Cool. So fast forward a little bit to where we are today, right? What are you doing now with State Farm? I know you're still in the insurance space. I know you're mentoring. Bring us into like, what's life like now with where you're at?
So first, I do want to mention something that is very important. And it was that when I started, it was really hard for me because one, I didn't have anyone in Connecticut other than an old agent that I knew to help me. So everything basically was I either call an agent and ask for advice, but I didn't really have someone hold my hand and show me everything that I needed to do. So for example, interviews. I didn't know how to do interviews. So I had to ask for help. So it was really, really tough for me to get to where I am today. And that's the main reason I became a mentor, right? Because I know there's a lot of people that are currently in my shoes that don't know where to go for help. And there's so much help out there for people that are looking to open a business or are currently in business and need help. It's just that most people are afraid to ask or to look.
No, 100%. You don't know what you don't know, right? Especially when you're getting into something like entrepreneurship. I mean, it kind of blew up now because of social media, but like prior, it wasn't like the trendy thing to leave a stable 9-to-5 with benefits, with health, healthcare, with, health insurance, all that stuff. What if one tool was all you need to start your business and make your first 6 or 7 figures? See, I was never entrepreneurial growing up. And after starting my first business, I spent the first 2.5 years completely lost. Nothing worked for me until I found Kajabi. See, if you offer coaching, courses, if you have a private community, if you want to start a podcast, a newsletter, a blog, if you have a membership community, Kajabi has you covered. They have everything you need to start, scale, and sustain your business all in one. So I want to offer you a free strategy session where we'll talk about your business, your goals, and how Kajabi can help you All you have to do is use the link in the description, and as an extra bonus, I'll get you a free 30-day trial to test out Kajabi. Normally, they only offer 2 weeks, so hurry up, click the link in the description. With that being said, let's get right back into this episode. To start this random risky venture. I mean, there's always been business owners and people to take risks, but it hasn't been as trendy and as popular as it is nowadays. And also, the internet wasn't as easily accessible as it is nowadays with social media and YouTube and all that stuff. And you mentioned a couple of things that I want to kind of dive deeper into. Right? You mentioned how you didn't have someone to hold your hand and walk you through all the stuff that you didn't know that came with running an office. So what was that like, kind of navigating everything? How were you able to figure out? Who did you lean on? How did you find the support to figure it all out?
So the first thing is, one thing about me is I'm not afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right. So I reached out to maybe 10, 15 agents. Some of them were willing to help. Some of them didn't even want to talk to me, which is fine. No one has to help you. Right. But it's my job to find the person that does want to help me, right? And I can't let a few people telling me no prevent me from getting to someone that will say a yes. So for me, it was really tough because I had to wear other hats, right? Like I was working literally 7 days. I had to pick up my kids from school, drop them off. I had to do my accounting. I had to do the hiring. Basically, I had to do everything, right? So it took me a while to kind of get the hang of it. And I realized very early that the best thing you could do as a owner is just hire people to do the things that you don't have time to do. And it took me a couple of years to figure that out, right? So for example, accounting used to take a long time for me, like doing my own books. I hired somebody to do that. So, that was the biggest thing that I could say that I learned was just hire to your weakness, right? Hire people that like to do things that probably you don't like. Like, I don't like running books. I don't like math. So I hire someone to do that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think there's a lot of people who get into a business and it's their business, right? It's only them and they don't want to give up that control. And that could be kind of hard to kind of let go of. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. Yeah, like if you don't like doing it, the likelihood that you're not good at it is probably pretty high. And the likelihood that even if you try that you're not going to be that good at it is also really high. So it's like you're better off just sticking to the stuff that you actually enjoy doing. Because if you enjoy doing it, the likelihood that you get better at that is amazing. And if that's a revenue driver for you, even better. Right, because now you're bringing in money, and that's your best, use of your time. Because that's the thing that you're naturally good at and have the best potential to grow at.
And then another thing that also helped me throughout the first 5 years was the people I surrounded myself with. Right. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, listen, your surrounding will determine your future. Right, because you could be a smart, bright person, intelligent, but if you're hanging out with the wrong mentality type of crew, you're not gonna go far. Because every good idea you tell them, they're going to tell you all the bad things about it, right? So one thing that I was really good at, it was networking. And that's why I go to all your events.
Shout out to us, though, man. He's for some years now. Throwing events, for anyone that doesn't know, is there's not really much that you get out of hosting it aside from a great time. All the stuff before the event is so annoying to deal with. The actual event itself is always an amazing time, which is why I still do them. But, like, sheesh, I appreciate the support because it goes a long way. Anyone listening, if you do events, just know you're signing up for a lot of work, especially if you're a one-man show. So just know.
It's good because, I always tell people, listen, like, if you're the type of person that goes around with the mentality that you know everything, everyone that I know with that mentality end up struggling, right? Me, I'm always looking to learn. So whenever there's opportunity for me to network, it doesn't cost me anything to go a couple of hours, shake a couple of hands. And it means lifesaver because now I have a network for anything. Like if I need any type of product or if I need any type of advice, like literally I have someone that I could reach out to. And I was able to acquire this network by stepping out of the comfort zone and going to events like yours and shaking hands and getting to know people.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I guess I'm curious. So, what was the pivot in your business, in your State Farm office, where it went from, all right, I'm struggling, I'm wearing all the hats, I'm starting to figure out this hiring thing. Like, what was that pivot where it finally clicked and business really started to get going?
So during my first couple of years, since it was so much for me, and I'm making more money than I ever did, but I got 100 times more responsibility. I had a mentor that I used to call basically and complain about any little problem that I run into, right? And I called him one day, and I guess he was having a really rough day that day. And he said, Jacinto, you know what? Starting today, we're going to switch it up a little bit. Next time you call me to give me a complaint, don't call me unless you have 3 possible solutions to the problem. And I was like, okay, I'll call you back. So basically that day I realized that, if you have a problem in front of you, you need to come up with some solutions if you're going to complain about it, right? So that was the day that everything changed for me, because that was the day that I kind of realized, like, I'm responsible. Like, I have to figure it out, right? Like, I can't, like, yes, I could call you for help, but at the end of the day, like, did I try anything to solve the problem? Mm-hmm. So that was, for me, that was the day that, like, my mentality switched, and I was like, okay, if I could come up with 3 solutions and those 3 solutions don't work, then I could come up with another 3. So eventually I kind of learned how to be self-efficient and figure out all the problems and solutions on my own.
Yeah, that's when you learn how to swim. You took the floaties off. You learned how to swim for yourself. You didn't need the coach anymore. And that's amazing, man. I think that's a very important lesson. I think a lot of times we don't trust ourselves enough. And this is something I talk about too now with AI, because like, but yeah, this is one thing I talk about now with AI. So many people are just so hesitant to try stuff without asking ChatGPT first. Hey, should I do this new business venture? I don't know. Wait, let me ask ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, I want to do the XYZ business. Should I do it? And they'll go based off of ChatGPT. Or, someone sends you an email. I was like, oh, how do I respond to this? Oh, wait, let me ask ChatGPT. And like ChatGPT and all these other AI tools can help out a lot. But if you don't trust yourself, and you're not, for me, at least in my case, not asking God for clarity and direction on everything, like, you're going to always be at the mercy of AI or of your mentor. You're never going to be, as like you mentioned, able to fend for yourself. You're never going to be able to be self-sufficient, because you're always going to be looking for external validation of some sort, or external guidance, instead of actually getting stuff done.
And one other thing, like with SCORE, one other thing that I
really quick, for anyone that doesn't know what that is, what is SCORE?
So SCORE.org is an organization for anyone that is looking for, if you need a business plan, if you're looking for business loan, if you need a mentor. Is over 10,000 volunteers that we group together throughout the United States, willing to help anyone that is looking for any business advice, whether you're looking to open a business or you currently have a business.
That's amazing. So tell us what SCORE is mentioning.
Yep. So again, if anyone, let's say for example, like when I opened my State Farm agency, if I would have known about SCORE, I'll probably be 10 times better than what I am now, because you get access to one-on-one mentorship, right? And the good thing about it is they're going to partner you up with someone in the field or whatever business type you're in. So if you're looking for construction, we have people that own construction company or had construction company. If, let's say, for example, you're looking to get into the insurance and financial services, they'll partner you up with me. So it's not like a random person that never done insurance is going to help you. They're going to assign someone that basically been through it, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I kind of see a lot of times when I'm mentoring people is like the same recurrent problem, right? If let's say if someone's looking to start a business, right? Everyone has an idea, but the idea is in their head. And I always tell people, you got to get the idea from the head to a business plan, right? Because your business plan is your blueprint. Because when everything is lost and you don't know what to do, all you have to do is go back to your business plan. And your business plan will say, okay, you're here. this is where you need to go. So a lot of people, they want to open a business, they don't do any market research. They think that, oh, I want to open a restaurant, I just buy the equipment, hire 2 person to cook, and I'm gonna make money.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works, because now with the internet, everyone on Instagram is like, yeah, this is easy to do. You could do it, sign up for my course, but they don't tell you, they had a business plan, right? Like that's why it works for them. If you go and just jump in the water and you never took swimming class, you're gonna drown.
Mm. No, 100%. So I'm glad that you mentioned it, because again, that's something I only found out about, I think, last year. I think I found out about it because you mentioned it at one of our events. And you came to this, and that's the only reason I found out about it. Because, yeah, it's not as many people talk about it. And one of the things I want to ask you, because you mentioned one-on-one mentorship with SCORE, but, I mean, just from you telling me your story, right, you've always had someone in your life, I mean, from as early as, high school, when you got that first job at the restaurant, your mother was, almost kind of like a mentor figure, right? She helped you get access to opportunities in her network that she acquired. And then from there, right, then you got into working the Rite Aid job and a manager there, and then eventually got into State Farm because you had a friend, right, that was in that insurance agent industry, and then that kind of helped you out. And then you mentioned when you had your own office, right, you had someone that you could call to complain to who's kind of like a mentor. And so now you're on the other side of it, where now you're helping other people. So I just want you to touch on a little bit, like, how important has mentorship been in your life, and why is mentorship so beneficial for everyone?
All right, so the first thing that I usually tell people when they call me for advice is, like, I want you to remember this. Every advice that I'm giving you costs me money to learn. Because experience in business comes through loss.
Unfortunately, yes.
So, when you say, hey, listen, how can I grow my book of business, for example, right? I could tell you things that work because I tried probably 15, 20 things that didn't work. So, I always tell people, listen, when you ask for advice, make sure that you pay attention, because the person giving you the advice, it costs them something. Not only time, most of the time it costs time and money to learn whatever they're giving to you for free. And also on that end, I always tell people the best time to give advice is when they ask you for it.
Yeah. Unsolicited advice is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Because when I became a State Farm agent, I was doing great, and I was calling everybody, and I wanted everyone to be an agent because I wanted everyone to have what I had. And I learned really quickly that sometimes people are not looking for help. So the best time, in my opinion, to give an advice or help is when someone asks you for it.
Yeah, I think that's so important to, like, really emphasize. No one wants to be told what to do. No one wants unsolicited advice, even if they might need it, right?
Yeah,
and
but
also,
most of the time they do.
Yeah, most of the time they do. And one of my favorite sayings, it's pretty harsh, but I love it. Do not cast your pearls before swine, right? If you have golden advice and people aren't going to be paying attention to it, don't bother opening your mouth. Don't bother wasting your breath. Very, very harsh advice, but advice that definitely will serve you well in the long run. Because a lot of times you want to give this advice, and it's coming from this happy, energetic, positive place. Like, I just want to, like you said, I just want to share. And then if you talk to enough people that turn your ideas down, it could almost feel like a personal attack sometimes, even though it's not, right? But it could feel that way. And so you end up getting yourself hurt because you're trying to share to people who weren't receptive of what you had to share in the first place. And to touch on that just a little bit more, I think, too, when it comes to giving advice, you mentioned, right, it usually costs you time or money of some sort. I think if you're going to give advice, you need to do a better job of price anchoring what it costs you, especially if you're giving advice to people who aren't paying you, right? Because people who pay attention. So they're going to listen because they have their money. They have skin in the game. But people who aren't paying and you're giving them advice, you're going to have to do a good job of letting them know, hey, here's what I went through to learn this. You could either A, go through exactly what I did to learn it, or B, just shut up and listen to what I'm saying and learn it without all the stuff I had to go through. But us as the advice givers have to do a better job of letting people know. Because if we just give them advice without, they're never going to care, right?
And I recommend anyone that is looking for help, ask. Yes, there's going to be people that are going to tell you no, but there shouldn't be no reason to get discouraged, right? It's your dream, right? You're the one that have to fight for it. So, I was lucky enough that I asked enough people that I found a few people willing to help. Even now, right? Even though I'm a mentor, I still have other people that I could reach out to for advice, right? Like now I'm getting into the real estate game, and I know a couple of people that are very well off because of the real estate investment that they make. So, whenever I need some real estate investment, I go to the pro. So, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's like my biggest thing,
Yeah, and another thing that I want to point out too is like you're great at insurance, and yet that doesn't mean you're a great real estate investor. And so, like you said, you go to the pros. A lot of times too, it could be easy to find success in what you do, and because you made it in this one area, you think that you got it all, you understand it all. No, you're an expert in your field, and if you want to dive into another one, consult with the experts in that field to help shortcut the learning curve, right? Everyone talks about, not everyone, but a lot of people say, oh, there's no shortcut to success. Yes, there is. Find the people who are already succeeding and figure it out from them.
Well,
That way you don't have to learn.
there's plenty of books that people could read, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. My favorite one is 3 Feet from Gold. So if you haven't read that one, I recommend it. So I always tell people like whatever you want to do, most likely somebody already done it. The problem is again that based on my experience, most people kind of want the shortcut, and they don't understand like everything costs. Like there is no shortcut. Just because you got there faster than me doesn't mean you found a shortcut. Your life is different than mine. Your situation is different than mine. And I feel like when I talk to a lot of people that are looking to open businesses, is that they're comparing their journey to someone else. And it's like, no. Listen, you don't understand or know the situation that made that opportunity work for that person. You only seeing the results, but you don't know the struggle to get there. You don't know what they had to sacrifice or what they were willing to do for it. So, I see that a lot where a lot of people is like, oh, I want to be the next John Mendez. He makes it look easy. Yeah, but you've been at this for a long time. You're just not going to walk in there and be the next, And I think a lot of people are falling in that trap where they think everything is easy. If so could do it, so can I. But they don't understand that everything is time, money, and sacrifice.
100%. And so, Jacinto, man, I've been having a great time talking to you. Where could we catch up with you? Where could people find you that are listening if they want to get more of what you have going on? I know you do a lot of mentorship. I know you also offer a lot of insurance. So, like, where can people connect with you? Where can people find you at if they wanted more of what you have to offer?
So, again, if you put Jacinto Evangelista State Farm Insurance, you'll find me right away on Google. If you're looking for help with mentorship, you could go to score.org. There's a questionnaire that you fill out, and it's going to ask you your name, the type of field that you're looking for help with, and your information, and then they'll assign someone that can help you with everything from business planning to funding, basically anything you need in the process.
Amazing. So now it's time for our famous 5 questions. Same 5 questions I ask every single guest. What is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Value time. And the reason why I say that is during COVID, I was 2 months in the hospital, right? And I didn't think I was going to make it out. And the reason why I say I didn't think I was going to make it out was because they sent a priest to my room to ask me for funeral arrangement, right? So if you have a business or if you have a 9 to 5 and you have family, don't delay that Disney trip thinking that, next year, because I used to have that mentality of, I'll do it next year. Now I'm a little bit more of a, hey, if I got time, I'm going to do it now.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Honor. Integrity.
If you had to change someone's life but only had one book, which would you recommend? Not including 3 Feet from Gold, because you already mentioned it earlier.
The magic of thinking big.
What is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
That's tough because I always tell my kids, like I came from the Dominican Republic with nothing, and I want to leave with nothing. I want to spend it all. So, but my legacy will be that my kids can say my father never missed a school event. He was always there.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
Change your surrounding. Look for people that are in the field that you're looking to get into, and ask for help.
100%.
You'll find someone that will be willing to help you.
Jacinto, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad we've been able to. I honestly, I don't remember how we met a few years ago, but I'm glad we did. I'm glad we had you on the podcast, man. It's definitely been long overdue, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for just sharing your story, your experience, the lesson you learned along the way. And for anyone tuning in, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the Walk to Wealth podcast. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button so we can continue on our journey to wealth together. And again, I'm your host, John Mendez, and I'll see you on the next episode.